Chris is going to be late.
Yeah, Chris is good.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our January 5th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes? Here. Mr. Gottstein? Mr. Ball?
Let's hold off excusing Mr. Gottstein. He said he should be late this evening, but he is coming.
Yeah, he got an emergency call, so he thought he might finish it up.
We need approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 15th and special meeting of December 16th. Any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the two meetings.
I'll support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2014-24 in the amount of $397,465.28. George.
Page 2. About 4 or 5 lines up from the bottom. Okay, there's a return caliper for 211. I had a question on why, if it's returned, why there's a plus on here, Mary. But I think if we go back, way back further in the agenda, you'll see where there's the same statement and there's a credit on it. So I kind of disregard that. Three. Okay, here's the same thing on right in the center of the page for $13.89. Return calipers, same thing again. And back further, I'll try to catch it. Page 6. Ray, at $622, you get reimbursed on that for the expense meetings for the MMA?
On the expenses, no, I don't. Well, I mean, I do, but MMEA doesn't pay for the expenses. The city does.
Okay, Mary, right down on the bottom, about 4 or 5 up on the bottom, you can see there return for calipers, and there's a dollar figure there for a minus. I knew I'd seen it someplace else in here. The only other questions I got, I noticed there's a number of spread out through the outfits for pairs of gloves. There's 12 pairs of gloves for $261. Joe, that's $12 or $25 a pair of gloves. If they're for working gloves, that's kind of expensive, don't you think?
Well, we try to buy the least expensive gloves we can find for winter gloves. I don't necessarily purchase them personally, but I can check into it and get back to you on it.
Well, there's on another column in here, there's 6 pair for $55 on another spot. I can, if you look for it. So I mean, there is a lot of difference between prices of gloves. I'm just wondering what.
Yeah, I don't know, George. Let me check into that because I can't answer your question. If another department went out and bought something, gloves without my knowledge, just give me a chance to look it up, okay? And get back to you.
Also, I noticed shut-off notices. Now, evidently, I don't know how they come, but if you add up all the departments that, for imagine it's electricity, water, and stuff, there's $300 spent for shut-off notices. What do they come in, a tablet form or,
We buy them she buys them in cases. I mean, I'll have to find out how much that is.
well, I added them up, Mary, I mean, they're split up in 8 different departments for $47.80 apiece.
And that's what we do is we split it up between the departments, but that might be like a 1-year supply.
Okay, I just
I'll find out how many she got here.
I just kind of thought it was kind of exceptionally high for I don't know if they come in tablet form or how they come into, but for, my God, for $300, I think I would think it would be quite expensive. That's about all I have, Jeremy.
Dr. Hayes?
Well, the only question I had was on page 2 for Mao and Salalo, legal services, police matters. And of course, this is new to us since we're now getting billed individually. But it follows up on my question from 2 or 3 meetings ago. Why was there a difference for 3 different items that sounded like they were the same and they were exponentially larger than the next? And I guess it's part of this might be to do with unable to release people's names, but I was thinking we could get more details on what the police matters were and, why there was such a big difference in filling out papers for individual crimes.
Can I, let me address that?
Yeah.
Here, I thought I was gonna get an attaboy for the bill being so low this time around.
Oh, but I was just wondering why, and I'm not used to seeing
I was
it.
waiting for George to make a comment about how small it was this time. We were noticing it's gonna fluctuate a little bit with how active the police are, how active they are with making arrests versus traffic stops, how much comes through our office with warrants and requirements of us attending court. And we were noticing, I think about a month and a half to 2 months ago, which this would be a billing for, would be from back in November, the amount of activity slowing down a bit with the winter months. And the way, and if you had the actual bill itself, it lays it out in more detail. So this would be, if it references the police matters, it's presumably referencing the prosecutorial work. But we keep it uniform for the, we get it in, receipt, review, police report, takes about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how in-depth it is, depending on how long it is, depending on what it entails. But we try to keep it uniform so there won't be fluctuations. But the amount with the police matters, obviously that entails a number of different cases. But it's much lower than I think it has been in the past, just because activity with the weather perhaps, or whatever it may be, there's been less arrests and less
And
prosecutors.
as it's true though, Brent, too, if it's just doing warrants and tickets, it's gonna be less than if you have to go to court.
Absolutely.
And that, depending on the type of action you're doing. If you're going to court, then it's more.
And what we saw as well, guys, was, initially when I came on board, there was a lot of things that were backed up. So those first couple months, they had a lot of things that Ray and I were working through to try to help us get some guidance and get some immediate things taken care of. And I think Ray and I have kind of fallen into a routine with, question answer, getting things up to speed, and hopefully we'll have a more level billing for the foreseeable future. But if you take a look at the bills, they are broken a little bit further as well. I'm sure that Ray has those that we submit to you guys.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, that was the one question I had.
Lee?
One question here, page 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items down. 3-night stay, Radisson Hotel and Conference Center, NWTC apprenticeship program, $467. I'm hoping that includes the class. Otherwise, that's $150 a night for a motel, and I'm sure they could find something a little less expensive than that. Can you get me the breakdown on that, Joe?
Yes.
See exactly what's included in that?
Yep.
And 2 below that, annual FERC meeting lunch expense, $74. That was a pretty big lunch.
It was 8 people were in attendance.
We hosted, we rotate that around.
Oh, I see, okay,
Yeah, it was our turn.
that's fine, that's all I have.
I don't have any other questions. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Also, make a motion to approve manifest 2014-24 for an amount of $397, 465.28.
I'll support.
Motion made by George, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on the minutes manifest or any agenda item? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes. If not, there'll be a time for further comment on any subject at the end of the meeting. Okay. We have a number of appointments and presentations this evening. That's the majority of our business as we're starting the new year. The first one is for the Downtown Development Authority. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like you mentioned, we have quite a number of our boards and committee, well, all of our boards and committees, we go through this time for appointments. Starting through the month of December, we've had advertisements out seeking reappointments and, anybody interested in getting an appointment to one of our boards, looking for, as always, we're looking for people that are interested in serving on one of our committees. Unfortunately, Trish, I don't believe we had any new applications come in, did we?
Not a one.
Not a one. So we do encourage participation and hopefully in the future, if you have an interest in serving on some of our boards, we do have some open seats, as we'll see. But I'm going to go down through, Mr. Mayor, if your pleasure, just to go down through each one. The first one is the Downtown Development Authority. This particular board is comprised of members who either live or work within a specified DDA district. We have 2 members that are up for reappointment, Mr. Paul Ziek and Mr. Jim Moore, and they have both requested reappointment for 4-year terms. Their terms will expire in December of 2018.
Jim Moore is because the Coleman Engineering's office is on Main Street. They have a business within
Yes,
the
he
town,
works
within
for
the
Coleman
district.
Engineering.
Thank you. I just thought of that.
Yeah.
I don't know where I don't really know where he lives.
Okay. Is there any motion on these 2 applicants?
I'll make the recommendation that Paul Jeek and Jim Moore be appointed to the DDA board for a 4-year term expiring in December 2018.
Support.
Motion made by Lee, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Okay, next board down is the Parks and Recreation Committee. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 3 seats up for reappointment. Mr. Jeff Gilroy, Mr. George Ball, and Mr. Edward Ball. All 3 have requested reappointment. And again, we have no new applications at this time. This particular committee also has 2 open seats, so this is a good committee if you're interested in getting your feet wet a little bit on working on a city board. This would be a good one. But we have those 3 seats up for appointment. And they will be seated until January of 2018.
Ray, may I ask, are there any restrictions on this as far as
No.
living where you live at or?
No, in fact, this is really a working committee. There's no restriction on being a City of Norway resident. It's if you are interested in working with the committee for the betterment of Parks and Recreation, to help out.
If I ask Otto to join this, would it hinder his work that he does for the city in any way?
No, I'm not in any way.
Not this board.
No.
You know, I think he'd be a great asset.
Sure.
Probably get some better deals too.
And
Well,
we
he
don't,
gives us a pretty good deal right now. I mean,
Well,
Don't hurt to sharpen the pencil.
doesn't hurt.
we also know we'll have him at every meeting, so if we've got questions, he's right there.
That's right.
right.
Okay, is there a motion on the 3 applicants?
I'll make a motion that Jeff Gilroy, Edward Ball, and George Ball be reappointed to the Parks and Rec Committee for a 3-year term expiring in January 2018.
Support.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
The next committee down is the Jake Mangini Museum Board. There were 3 people up for appointment in that position, Jim Stanek, Gail Nicholson, and Carol Sundstrom. They have all 3 applied they've reapplied for their positions. There were no new applicants for this board. How does that board work, Lee? They've been staying busy?
Yes, very interesting.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Jim Stonick, Gail Nicholson, and Carlson Sundstrom for the term through 2018.
I'll support. Motion made by George, supported by myself. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval, Board of Tax Review. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a board that has a one-year, basically a one-year appointment, and you reappoint this board every year. There are 3 seats on this board. We have 4 individuals that are interested in the board, and the same 4 as last year. Remember last year we did appoint alternate, and the alternate was used during the course of the board review process. So I thought that was a good setup for us. And again, all 4 have been basically recommended for staying active. And we don't have a specific recommendation other than I think that the way that this board operates, I think it'd be a good idea to rotate that alternate, yeah, because they're all interested, they all do participate. George Servia actually has the longest term, serving term. The other 3 were first year. I think they were first year last year. So, so I would recommend having George on as a regular, and then rotating that as we go along if they all stay active.
Depending on the other 2, last year I feel I made an error in not pushing for George Survey to be on there. Being that he is the senior member of that board, he's got the most experience. I probably should have pushed for it last year, and I made a mistake in not doing so. So I think this year we should make sure we include George as a regular board member.
Well, I don't care how you go on it, but last year, I was probably the one pushing for the 3 new people because of the fact we always have such a hard time of people even applying for these boards, and all of a sudden you've got 3 new people interested in it, and we got to say, oh, we don't want you. That's why I went that way last year. This year, I don't care how you do it. It's probably a good idea that you do have a person as an alternate, but I don't care who's what.
Anybody got a feeling who they?
No, I
Okay.
agree 100% with Mr. Anderson. To my knowledge, Mr. Servia is the only one that has any schooling or did any classwork of any of the board members that belong to it. So I highly recommend that he be not an alternate. So with
Does anybody
that,
have a feeling on the alternate, or to make a motion as to which
I'll
3?
make a motion that we, and like I say, I'm neutral. If Ray feels it's best to rotate the alternate, that sounds fine to me too.
Okay, so anybody want to make a motion for 3 of them?
I'll make a motion. You want to appoint an alternate too, or no?
Yeah, the 4th one would be the alternate.
Okay, I'll make Ron Vivio is the first on top, so I'll make a motion that Ron Vivio be appointed as the alternate, and the other 3 members be appointed as full board members.
Okay.
Fred Smith, Daryl Harder, and George Servia.
Okay. I'll support that. Motion made by George, supported by myself. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Gottstein,
Abstain.
Mr. Ball,
Yep.
Mr. Oja,
Yes.
Mr. Menigini.
Yes.
Before,
Could I ask Mr. Godstein why you abstained?
Yeah.
because I wasn't part of the conversation, so I didn't want to vote yes or no on it.
There wasn't really good reason to abstain in this situation. It's not a condition that you can abstain under, so you should vote one way or another.
I can vote yes then.
There's rules on it. There's rules on abstaining. That's,
I just have one question, and Jim Wiseman actually asked me to make sure that I asked this question to council. Last year, we went ahead and agreed to pay the alternate because they participated in all of the, there's a number of hours that go in before the actual assessment, where they go through a review, you know, another meeting, they have a organizational meeting and whatnot, and the total sum of paying that extra alternate was like $200. So he doesn't want to get into the same bind this year. If is it agreeable to the council to go ahead and pay the alternate just like the other members to participate and be there?
Only if he's there, if he
If he's-
attends, if he
yeah.
attends all classes or anything.
Yeah, if he doesn't show up, even if a regular doesn't show up, they don't get paid for the time.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
I think we're all agreeable.
Okay.
Then the next board on our list is the Norway Area Planning Commission. The city currently has 4 members on that. Of those 4, 2 are up for reappointment, Barb Thorne and Chris Gottstein. Nobody else applied for that, so these are the only 2 applying for reappointment, and for a motion to approve.
I make a motion, we appoint the 2 members.
I'll
What
support.
was your motion, Doc?
I make a motion, we reappoint the 2 members,
Oh,
Chris
I'll
Godstein
support,
and
okay.
Barb Thorne.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Oja,
Yes.
Mr. Menigini,
Yes.
Dr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein.
Yes.
Next, we have the Norway Area Zoning Board of Appeals. The only person up on that board currently is Mr. Servia, and he has applied to, reapplied to be on that board. Mr. Servia is here tonight. There was some question before. Are you still interested in being on the ZBA? Yes. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I wasn't clear talking at the beginning. So, Mr. Servia's applied for that, so, and there's no other applicants.
I got one question on this. The last person there, alternating seat. Does he show up at these meetings or just when he's
No,
asked?
he's had a conflict with classes, and it all depends on when we're able to appoint, because those meetings aren't on a regular basis.
Right.
It's just to be announced.
Has this caused a problem?
We've had the alternate,
I've filled in for him.
yeah,
Oh,
we've
okay.
had the alternate, so,
We had one meeting where multiple people from both us and Township were missing. And we ended up not being able to have a meeting because I was filling in one seat already. And Mary Lindstrom was filling in one seat as the Township's alternate. We were still short, so.
but that's because you need 4 votes. Even though we had a quorum, you still needed 4 to pass, so.
I'll make a motion that George Survey be reappointed representing the city of Norway for a 3-year term.
Support?
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Oja,
Yes.
Mr. Menigini,
Yes.
Dr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein.
Yes.
Mr. Ball.
Yeah.
Now we get into our communications this evening. We have 2 things on the agenda for the communications. The first is approval contract for legal services Mount Salello. There were 2 options proposed before the council in the packet, and we just need to discuss which option we want and which way we're gonna go.
Yeah, if you notice in each contract, I've labeled them option 1, option 2 on top of each legal services agreement. That item number 1, the first option has a $3,000 advance monthly payment. It's $125 per hour charged against that advance, but then after we hit the 3,000, see number 2, it drops to $100 per hour. In option 2, it's a straight $125 an hour. So you don't have a drop to 100. And we're gonna, under both options, we're tracking the time. You know, you won't see a difference in how we track the time, it's just how are we paying for services, so.
Are we currently hitting that 3,000 mark every month right now?
No.
No, this month, what was it, Doc,
700 and something.
750?
781.
It was a slow month on the prosecutor side and on the civil stuff, right? And I had worked out a lot of the issues, and so it was a little bit lower this month. I don't recall what they've been the last couple months before that. I think they were right around that range.
And in a court case or litigation, I don't believe, based on what I'm seeing here, it doesn't go against the 3,000. It's $150, but $150 an hour, but it doesn't go against the 3,000.
I mean, ultimately, you know, as we talked about earlier, you know, I'm going to be serving at the pleasure of the council. And, you know, we can set it up however you want to do it, or however you please, whatever works for the council, whatever works as we move forward. You know, that litigation rate hopefully won't come up very often.
yeah.
Hopefully we don't have to deal with it both either civilly or on the prosecutor side. You know, on the prosecutor side, you know, I'm sworn to do everything I can to uphold the city charter and prosecute criminals to the fullest extent of the law, and working with the police to do so. That being said, you know, you want to be fair to everybody, and sometimes it's out of your hands a little bit on the prosecutor side. Generally, on the criminal side of things, trials don't come up that often. I don't know how often Jay had a trial. I don't recall him having a criminal trial since I've been in the area. But it could come up. But our officers do a nice job of doing things by the book and doing things appropriately. So when you do it that way, a lot of times it doesn't go to trial. On the civil side of things, who knows? You know, we're fortunate enough as a city to have a lot of different fires going on with, you know, a lot of different activities in the area. You just don't know, you can't tell, I suppose. Hopefully it doesn't come up at all.
One question that was raised a month ago, and Grant and I talked about it, and we answered the question, was we have the $3,000 retainer, and we use half of it, say $1,500. The next month, $1,500 rolls over to the next month, so we would only pay $1,500 to bring it back to $3,000. You know, if that's, you know, we're still tracking this on an hourly basis, so we can see where everything is at. I guess I'd have to recommend that we try the retainer, and we can always switch. You know, we're gonna be pretty fluid. We can always switch to a straight out.
With the retainer rolling over to the next month if we don't use it, then with the option one, we still get the benefit of, if we go over, it's $100 an hour, not $125. So we get the benefit, we get, that's, I think, the best one for us as well, because the retainer, like Ray said, if we use $1,500 next month it'll get added in, so we're not losing $1,500, and we still have, that one gives us the benefit of the $100 an hour after 3.
Well, and to be frank, I mean, that is an alternative that we didn't discuss even under the option number 2. It was just you know, can you put together a legal retainer for just a flat hourly rate? You know, if we want to not do the retainer and pay that each month, that's fine. We can do it on an hourly basis and have an understanding that if it gets above a certain level, again, because we want to indicate to the council and to the city that we want to work with you guys. And if there's more work that comes our way, we want to be able to you know, have a benefit as well for the city with, it's almost kind of the buying in bulk, I guess. Yeah. You know, again, we can serve at your leisure and come up with a resolution that whatever works for the city and for the people here as well. And we can, as Ray and I discussed, you know, as we continue with our working relationship, if something comes up that, you know, the council looks at or the city manager looks at and says, well, can we try to change it up a bit? You know, we can always talk about changing it, being fluid.
Well, I mean, if we don't have to pay the 3,000 up front and we just do it per hour at $125 per hour, and if we hit 3,000, if you're willing to drop it down to 100 at that point,
That's fine.
then that would be the most flexible. And that kind of gets the benefits of everything.
I just figured you're giving us a break for the cost of money, but it's really not gonna happen that much. I mean,
I don't think, I mean, from what I've seen so far,
And that's kind of what option 1 is, though. That is kind of what option 1 is, Chris. It just
Okay.
puts that payment up front. So we pay the $3,000 at the first meeting, And then next month, we,
Do you feel more comfortable just going with?
either way,
those options?
even the way you had said, if that's agreeable, where it's just $125 an hour until 3,000, after 3,000 it drops to 100, if that's agreeable,
That's fine.
that's, would that be agreeable with the council?
And this can be changed at any time? Or is this, we're locked into a one-year contract?
I don't think it says 1 year. Does it say 1 year?
No,
I think it's, no, I mean, it's something that, I mean, I plan on being around for a long time, I hope, but, you know,
oh, we all do, really.
you know, but,
I think that we're gonna be flexible enough,
yeah, I don't think we indicated 1 year contract or anything.
Just a general contract.
Yeah, yeah.
With that as the payment stipulation, and plus the 150 for court.
Yep.
Is the rest of the terms acceptable? Can we make a motion to approve option 3?
Okay.
Well, it's only the-
And that would be the 125 an hour till 3,000, 100 after 3,000. And then everything else would stay the same in there.
Well, it sounds like option 1 then.
It kind of is, but we don't make the big 3,000 up front. We just pay it as we get billed. That's the difference between that and one.
I'll make a motion that the legal services agreement between the city of Norway and Mow and Sullivan be approved per option 3 at $125 per hour up to 3,000 and $100 after, and the 150 per hour for trial litigation.
Sounds good. I agree.
Okay, motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call. Is that, Grant, is that acceptable to you?
Yes.
You said yes. I just wanted to have it vocally yes, so that. We got it on tape. That way we know we have record of.
Yeah, of course.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Last thing we have on our agenda this evening is the 2015 council schedule. The only thing that conflicts this year is September 7th, which is that Monday. We would request to move it to Tuesday the 8th, because there are only 4 Mondays in September.
I think we should move it to Tuesday and leave the schedule as it stands.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion made by George, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
No.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
That's our business this evening. Does anyone wish to address the council on the minutes manifest, or any agenda item, or any topic? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes. Anything? Okay, I see none, so, Lee.
Just 2 little comments. I went by the skating rink tonight. It looks real good, but nobody was there because of the weather. And I have a good comment here. I was talking to a person that was driving up in the north side of Iron Mountain, and he was very impressed the way the city of Norway streets were plowed versus what was up there. So it's kudos to our plowing crew. That's all I have.
Dr. Hayes.
I have no comments at this time.
Chris.
The intersection of 8 and 2, it's getting really bad. I know it's cold. Do we have any plans?
Other than patching it?
Pretty
That's
much all
it.
we're gonna do is patch it.
Yeah.
We gotta get something in the holes. Yeah, that was brought up to me last couple of days.
To do that, though, don't we have to get the approval to be able to shut down the traffic?
Not just to patch it. No, there's about 3 or 4, there's one big pothole that's developed over the last 2 weeks, and then there's several smaller ones in that vicinity, so we can do that without shutting the intersection down.
Well, and make sure they do it like they were doing the patching in the summer, because that's worked out really well. And those held up really well.
Will do.
That's all.
George?
Joe, after last meeting, you had talked to, I believe, you talked to I know you talked to me, I don't know if you talked to the rest of the members about that agreement that we voted down?
the agreement with Packerland Broadband for the...
Yes, I thought you said
Yeah.
that you were going to,
Yes, we will, because of the holidays, we didn't get it on this agenda, but it'll be on the next one.
Well, we're waiting for Corey too.
Yeah, I called Corey, our Packerland rep today, to talk to him, but he didn't get back to me. But I will be able to talk to him between now and the next meeting, and we'll get it back on there.
okay. I don't know, did you talk to the rest of the council and explain it the way you
I
did
talked
me?
to a couple of them, yes. Chris and I had a conversation about it, and you and I had a conversation.
I mean, there was no reason outside of a flip of a coin why I voted no on it. And I don't know if there was any reason for anybody else to vote no, outside of the fact that we're just getting tired of raising the rates all the time. But when Joe re-explained it, that there, and matter of fact, Chris said too, that there is a, down the line or down the road, that there is a big benefit, should be a big benefit available. All right. So, I mean, I'd like to see it brought up again so we can definitely change it. I mean,
It's definitely be brought up again, George.
One, there was a reason why I did. I voted no because the term of that contract is 3 years longer than the term of our Packerland contract, current one. I don't like contracting with them for two different things for two different lengths like that. That was,
I didn't have no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And if I was a deciding vote, I mean, I would just as soon, I mean, it was a matter of giving our customers better service.
We'll have it at the next
The
meeting.
bottom end results of it, so I mean, why wouldn't you want to pass it?
The conversation that I have to have with Corey is your point, to try to firm up that contract.
Yeah, we'll deal with that.
Well, I
Okay.
voted no because we spent a lot of money trying to get Channel 6. I have never noticed a problem with Channel 6 myself, but I couldn't see spending more money to go after a supposed free channel.
It's not free.
I know it, but it should be, and it was, and apparently if you've got reception near their, you know, their antennas, that you can get it for free. And so I didn't like the idea of spending more money on a channel that I saw no problems with. And I realize, I guess, some people had trouble seeing a football game, and that was too important not to have one.
football games rule everything.
Yeah.
Also, I got a call a couple of weeks ago about our ambulance service, where a lady tripped and fell and laid on the ground for more than a half hour. Now, 911 call went out twice. Nobody from Norway answered it, no cops showed up, nobody. Now, Jeremy, to me, this is very embarrassing that people pay for services and nobody, and we offer the service. I agree, it's volunteer.
I've
But
already, I
when
talked
they-
to the same lady, and I've started addressing it with the crew, and it's gonna be addressed with the board at our next meeting, so.
I mean, this is a dirty shame when you're paying for a service and
I agree, and it wasn't a weekday, it was a Sunday afternoon, when they should have had people available.
regardless of when
We
it
have a
was.
hard time, though, with a volunteer crew filling during
I-
during working hours, but this was a Sunday afternoon, it should have been filled. Like I say, I've already started the conversation with the board. I'm gonna be talking to, one of our board members is going to meet with the crew. I'm gonna bring it up to them to make sure they bring it up at their crew meeting, that this is unacceptable, because I guess there's been another one since then, so.
I mean,
where our crew
when you're
didn't
paying
respond.
taxes, being charged taxes, I should say, for service that you want to provide and you can't provide the service that
It's
this.
something we're working on, and we've been working on how to fix, we've been having an issues lately with more missed calls, and it's something the board has been trying to work on for a couple of months to fix.
How's your membership? Are you got enough people to staff it or is this going downhill?
They've got enough members to staff it. They've had enough, they've let members go who weren't doing the runs they were supposed to be. So they've had enough, they let people go who weren't. So,
There's another couple of matters that I'd like to discuss on that thing too. On your reports, I don't know how well the council reads these reports that you sent in. A matter of fact, as long as we're on the thing, I noticed on your report, it said the last year or two that you're just holding your own. You're not gaining anything, you're not losing anything. and you come up with a $7,000, say, on the plus side. Now, to run a business and think we're gonna go start, put up a new shop for some 400,000?
I believe it was 547 was the engineer estimate, but the engineer's estimate was for a commercial building, and it was extremely rich for what they need. It's gonna come in, we figure somewhere in the 350 range.
I hope that you people take a very good look at this before you take some more steps.
Well, the next step
Because
right
when
now
you
that they're doing is applying for grant money to assist with this. So
When you see things holding their own, and I know I've been on that board, and it's hard to keep people's interest. And you should know that, Jeremy.
Yep.
It's very hard to keep people's interest. I see you're putting together a program where you're paying up tuition to get them to go in school, which is very fine. But you got to stay on top of it. And when you're just working on a break-even point, personally, I don't see where these payments are going to come from. And I noticed the next year budget, there isn't anything in there whatsoever on increasing your budget for a building.
No, because like I said, we're going through the grant process right now to see where that is going to take us first. They may not make the steps to move right away, but at some point, the ambulance was going to have to find its own facility because there just isn't enough room, or they were going to have to expand the fire hall.
What were the final, I noticed, reading the minutes that Lee had made a motion or suggestion to have an engineering firm come down and see if they could put an addition and stuff on that building?
They can't because of where the property lines are and where the drainage. There's drainage and property line issues off the garage end to extend the garages.
How about off the other side?
There's mine issues. That's what we were told, is that there's mine issues over there. That's why they didn't want to expand that way. Chuck did a drawing of maybe expanding that way, but from what I've been told, it's mine issues. Underground mine issues. They don't want to build over that.
I wouldn't have no idea.
I don't either. That's just what I've been told. So, when I asked the question.
Okay.
When we built the fire hall, I know we did sonograms through that area. The cap is on the other side of the parking, beyond the parking lot. I'm not sure,
East or west, Ray?
the cap would be to the west.
That's where they were talking about
West.
to expand to.
Yep, and we have the parking area, then we have the hill, and the cap is on the other side of that hill. Okay, I don't know about the sonogram activity in the current parking lot, but the cap is just beyond that, so when you go up the hill, that's why they stopped digging where they did. So, I don't know if you expand it just into the parking lot, you'd still have to account for the parking.
They were talking putting 45 feet off that. So you'd be beyond the parking lot.
So I know that when we did the sonograms, though, that there was no issue with.
Like I say, I was just told mine issue.
Yeah.
That's why they couldn't expand that way, and the other side was drainage and property line.
Yeah, you were pretty close on the other side.
I'd like to comment on that. On the first issue, I'm not aware of the particular circumstances on what happened. But you also said that the police never showed up either? That was.
Nobody
Why
told me.
wouldn't, if the 911, the police reassured us at one of our special meetings that they show up usually before the ambulance, that they're, and so that would be my biggest concern.
Beacon
I'm
came
extremely-
on a second call, Beacon came, which was more than a half hour. Am I right, Jeremy? Is that the same story you heard?
Yeah, yes. District 3. It was outside of town.
Well, it's outside the city
Oh,
limits,
So- outside.
okay. That answers
Just
that.
outside the limits.
Okay.
so we wouldn't have been dispatched. Our police would not have been
Oh, where
dispatched.
did it happen?
Okay,
was
it's
just
outside the
outside-
city. I
just
was
outside
wondering
the
why
city
the
limits.
police didn't show up,
I
and
have no
that
idea.
explains it.
Okay.
But if they had called
Well,
Norway
I
Police,
mean, at
they would
least
have
the-
responded.
They would have.
Hey, the police go down Vulcan, so I mean, I don't think that should be an issue, Ray.
No, but we're not deputized. And so we only respond if the sheriff requests us to go out, we'll go out, but we don't, the dispatch doesn't normally dispatch us unless they absolutely have to. So what they probably did was dispatch the deputy and got a hold of a deputy
Nobody, no police
But nobody-
whatsoever.
But they didn't show, I mean, it's
Nobody
whoever,
did.
I don't know where the deputy was at, but if the dispatch does get a hold of a deputy, then they probably will not dispatch us.
But yeah, then Beacon had left on the second one when they had called Beacon. Beacon was 18 minutes out when they came.
All I know, it wasn't a pretty issue.
No.
Also, have we changed our procedure in ticketing cars with license over the term of time here?
No.
I thought that any car that had a license and insurance on it doesn't get ticketed, whether, regardless of how long it's parked.
Well, it has to be operable. The vehicle has
Why?
to be able to operate. That's in the ordinance. That's in the property maintenance code. The vehicle
So
has
if
to
the
be
thing
operable.
is parked
It's a
for
state
a
law.
length of time and don't start, that means you get a ticket?
I don't know, I'd have to know the details, George. You mean somebody got a ticket and their car is properly licensed and insured?
License and insurance on it?
All right,
It
I
just
just-
happened today.
Okay, just give me the information and I can ask the questions, because I don't know the details behind that. I'd have
And
to check in the
They
details.
explained to the police, I mean, the car wouldn't start because the battery was dead, but
Well,
I thought.
that doesn't, give me the information, let me check in on it, I'll check in on it.
There's a lot behind it, Ray, but I mean,
Well, you can let me know, I'll check on it.
but I just assumed that as long as it was licensed and insurance, that it shouldn't be ticketed, or it wouldn't be ticketed, no, regardless of how long it was on private property.
There's language within the Michigan Vehicle Code which talks about inoperable vehicles, even if they're licensed and insured. But typically, we're not dealing in those situations, okay? So that's why just give me the information and I'll check up on it and find out what's wrong.
It seems funny, Ray, there's no common sense gets involved here anymore. It just,
Well, like I said,
black and white, either it's
give
yes
me
or no.
give me the information, because most of the time, there's more to stories.
Well, I know, and I only heard one side of it, so I know exactly
Right.
where you're coming
So
from.
let me check on it.
That's all I have, Jeremy.
I don't have anything. Joe?
I don't
Mary.
have anything further.
Tricia? No.
Stay warm.
Ray?
You're wearing this right.
Stay warm. I'm the same with Grant. I don't have anything.
Okay, need a motion to adjourn.
Motion we adjourn.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes?
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
An email address? One thing I haven't